Hi, I'm Raquel. Welcome to my channel. I don't know if you are new or old or whatever, but hi. I'm gonna be making more of a serious video, and it's more of a mental health suicide prevention kind of video. Hopefully the thing's not lagging. I'm hoping it's not. But yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a long one. It's probably gonna be at least 20 minutes. Currently, I don't know, I might have to stop filming in the middle of it. I don't know how far I'm going to get into it, but we'll figure it out. So there's that. So hi, I want to I want to say a little bit about myself first, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty. So part of what I will say is, my name's Raquel Lyons. I'm a 25-year-old. Gonna be 26 this year. I am an avid artist. I do a lot of creative writing. I write poetry. I write short stories. I write fan fiction. I've been doing that a lot lately. I write a lot of Loki-centered Avengers fan fiction. So I have stories like A Little Unsteady, Distorted and Disordered, This Would Be the End, Somebody Who Cares, If I Only Could, Severed, Come to Pass, Carpe et Capri, and there's just it's just a lot of hurt comfort kind of stuff, and like meaningful, meaning making, having to deal with adversity and then overcoming it and everything to that effect. So that's pretty much what I write about largely. I also do filming. I'm still very new to that, but I do photography as well. I do photography as well. I do graphic design, I do scrapbooking, watercoloring, painting, ink on skin, which you'll hear about more later, or if you're familiar with my channel, you'll have known about that as well. I'm a large Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. That's a big part of my life. I love music. I love Josh Woodward, especially if you're also familiar with my channel. You'll hear a lot of Josh Woodward. He's like kind of like folk rock kind of stuff. Really, really great. So music in general is a huge part of my recovery. This is my channel, Recovery to Wellness, so it's kind of in the title a little bit. I use it a lot for when I'm writing, for some of my fan fictions even have been inspired from song lyrics. Doing like watercoloring kind of stuff, which a lot of the time you'll probably see me do a time-lapse video about that. Some of my dreams include, I'm looking at my notes. Some of my dreams include becoming an author. I want to write a fiction novel. I want to write a memoir. I want to write a workbook. I want to write some sort of art and recovery kind of book. I've seen things like that before. I really want to do that. And I wanted to at one point to give a TED Talk, but I don't know if I'll still do that. Maybe, if I can, right? I do a lot of advocacy work. I work especially with the National Alliance on Mental Illness, or NAMI. What else do I do? Oh, I have a blog. The name of my channel comes from my blog on WordPress, recoverytowellness.wordpress.com. I almost said .org, but it's not, it's .com. And then I also have a Twitter handle, @RecoveryRaquel. I have an old DeviantART account, and those links I'll have in the description, as well as they're on my channel as well. So yeah, okay, we're like 4 minutes in. This is going pretty well so far. So that's basically a little bit about me. I also didn't mention, but I forgot to mention, I have a college education. I have a psychology Bachelor of Science degree. I recently just got that. I just walked in graduation, about a month ago. So that's my thing. And the whole thing about this video in particular is I want to largely talk about recovery from mental health conditions and also suicide prevention. So a little bit about why I'm making this video. Again, it's probably going to be like 20, maybe 30, 40 minutes long, so you're going to have to like buckle in and like get ready. I do tend to ramble, but I'll see how much I actually edit this video. Anywho, back onto the topic. The reason I want to make this video is because recently, like last week I had a close friend of mine from my day program, which I'll talk about later. The day program, not my friend. But I had a friend who made a severe suicide attempt. Then I had another friend of mine who went into the hospital for suicidal ideation. They got help, which is great. I mean, my other friend, they're still alive, but it was really close. It was a close call. And then also just this week, you know, having my friends be in the hospital and stuff like that was a bit of a trigger for me. But also there was, I don't know if I want to mention all the specifics, but there was a suicide that happened from someone who was a content creator on YouTube, and that really kind of, I mean, I didn't watch them at all. I wasn't like a fan or anything like that. I only just found out about them because they were kind of trending, and well, they weren't I wasn't on Twitter when it was trending, but I heard another YouTuber that I watch and was talking about it, and like other channels were talking about it and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to make this video because I think it's really, really important, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about like suicidality symptoms in a sense. I'm going to talk mostly about from my own experiences, and I'm going to save like the warning signs. I have done a couple other videos in the past which I actually rewatch, which is amazing for me because I just put it out and then I don't look at it again. But I'm going to talk a little bit about my own experiences, but largely I'm going to focus on my recovery and how I've gotten through a lot of that and how I'm really, really stable now and, you know, have that sort of different perspective, because the last time I made a video about it was 2018 in January, before I got really bad again, like a really unhealthy and a lot of shit happened. But I want to sort of talk on the aspect of recovery because I've gotten through a lot of that now, and I'm definitely not as symptomatic as I used to be. And I think I could offer an interesting perspective about what can happen with the right treatment and how it can get a lot better in life, you know, for whatever a person is struggling with, and that how like grateful I am to be where I'm at now. And like I never would have imagined where I'd be, where I am now, like a few years ago. So I kind of want to offer, as someone who survived and who, I mean, I never made severe suicide attempts. I did make 4. But as someone who's been in the system, the mental health system and everything, I want to be able to share how I got through it and all of that. And I'll definitely end with a, you know, message directly to someone who might be struggling and what I needed to hear or what I have found helpful for me. And so, yeah, I might actually do this in parts, maybe. That might be because I'm home alone right now, so it's a little bit easier to do this. So it might be a shift of day or something, just to be forewarned about that. But I'm going to start getting into the nitty-gritty. So first, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I want to talk about resources, because that's always really important, especially when talking about suicide, to have resources for to prevent other people. And this is not going to be a video mentioning specific methods, which is good because that's not appropriate. But I will talk on suicidality. So if that's triggering for you, you know, I suggest going away, or, you know, even I can maybe timestamp it when I get more into from past my history and then onto what I've gotten out of life and recovery in a positive manner, in a healthy way. So it's up to you, I suppose. Do what's best for you is always the big thing. So there's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for the USA, which is 1-800-273-8255. They also have a chat, like an online chat service. There's also the crisis text line, which is you can text home or start to 741-741. There's the NAMI the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They also have a Compass line. It's not a hotline, but it's between 9 and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. They have sort of resources, and there's also other specific states and stuff that have their own crisis numbers and depending on the county and all that kind of stuff. If you happen, I live in Massachusetts, by the way, so if you happen to also live in Massachusetts, I can kind of, if you want to ask about what are some of the hotlines I can call, or crisis lines, or not just the national ones, but the sort of state-specific ones, I have some good resources about that. So in case you happen to also live in Massachusetts and you want to kind of get some more info, I can kind of point you in the right direction. There's also Driven Industries, DR with a 1 and then Driven Industries. I've actually done a collaboration with him before. He's on Twitter, he's on TikTok, he's on YouTube. I think he's on Instagram. He's a really good resource. He's a peer. I'll also get into that in a second. Hashtag SickNotWeak is pretty good on Twitter. Facebook, I think, too. Metanoia.org. That's METANOIA.org. It's a really good, sort of first step to kind of get information and sort of be spoken to directly about suicidality, and it's a suicide prevention website. There's Psych Central, the International OCD Foundation, Help Guide, Beyond Blue, which is an Australian-based website, which is really cool. It's very, very nice. And there is the American Foundation on Suicide Prevention.org. So those are all the resources aspects, and I'll mention them again at the end of this video, just to kind of, start and end with places you can go to if you're struggling. I do ask that if you do happen to comment on this video and that you have felt before or are struggling with suicidality, that you don't mention specific methods, because that's going to be triggering for me, it's going to be triggering for you, it's going to be triggering for other people, so I would refrain. So you can kind of mention maybe an OD, an overdose, but don't be specific medications and how much you took, and don't do that. So, and if you do that and I find it, which I probably would, I'll probably just delete it. So it's kind of you can talk about how you feel and what you're thinking without mentioning details of trauma or methods for suicide or weights for eating disorders or things to that effect. Also, disclaimer for me, like Eric from Driven Industries, I am just a peer, so none of this is medical advice or anything to that effect. I'm just talking from my own lived experiences, from dealing with mental health, from dealing with suicidality, self-harm, YouTube addiction kind of stuff. This is just what's helped me. And I'm only going to be talking first person wise from what's helped me and what has really worked for me and changed my life, and things that didn't work as well or whatever. And I won't go into specific medications. I can talk about classes of medications, but not specifics. And yeah, okay, so that is the start of this video so far. I think I'm actually gonna, sorry, itchy, but I think I'm actually gonna try to do this, not all in one take, but a lot of it. So I've done this, hold on, this is my notes, yep, there's multiple pages. I'll probably do it in multiple takes, but it will be one solid video. It's going really well so far, which is great. And because my dad is going to get back home, so then I'm going to have to cut it out and then start again. So yeah, it'll be within the next hour. It's already noon. It's also, I forgot to mention what day it is. It's June, oh crap, 27th? Yeah, June 27th. It's a Thursday. It's noon. That's an aside, but okay. Next topic. Okay, so I've told you about myself, and I've told you a little bit about what I do. I guess I haven't really told you that much about what I do. My channel, Recovery to Wellness, is a recovery-based mental health related channel. I do a lot of art. I actually moved away from mental health orientation stuff to more just recovery-based things. That largely is because I would find it very triggering. I do find it triggering if I go back into my memories and like of when I was suicidal or like just struggling and things like that. There were, I think the last like mental health like video that I made actually did trigger me, and then I went into like a really bad depressive spiral, which was really unfortunate. But it's also how I got better at the same time, so I don't know. But I largely do a lot of art videos, a lot of time-lapse videos, music video, like, not music videos, but like music videos with music in them. Not my own music. I'm not musically inclined. I do a lot of that. I want to do more recovery stuff. Like, I want to talk about like sharing more of my story and more about how I've navigated through mental health and everything. So there's that. But that's just a little bit about my channel, largely recovery channel. So now I'm going to talk about what were some of my warning signs and some of my symptoms. So if you don't know, hi, I'm Raquel. Already said that already. But I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder on self-harm and suicide obsessions back in fall 2014 by my university's counseling center. That's a mouthful. Essentially, harm OCD, which is what I lived with, and still live with, it's intrusive thoughts I did not want to act on that weren't mood congruent. So I wasn't like sad and then had a thought about hurting myself. It was more of like, I'd have the thought, I'd get really anxious about the thought, I'd wonder if it's true, I'd wonder if like maybe it's like, there was a lot of thought action fusion, which is like where I took having the thought in general and took that as like, oh, that means I want to act on it, and sort of like fuse that together. But thoughts and actions are very different things. So there's that. Like for instance, I can have a thought of suicide, but if I start looking at methods online, things like that, that's more of an action. So there's that difference. I'd get really, really anxious about having these thoughts. I'd wonder if I was, secretly wanting to act on them, or, what was I going to do about it, and like all this kind of stuff. Eventually, a couple months later, I got secondary depression. Then I started having genuine thoughts of hurting myself, along with these intrusive thoughts about hurting myself that I didn't want to act on. And it might be because of the fact that I've always had the OCD first, that I never really wanted to die in a sense. But I think at the same time, I would have, I don't want to minimize my own experiences when I was suicidal, because I think because I got help early on in my recovery, in my journey of health and to wellness, I think because I had hope so early on that I knew things could get better. I knew that I mattered. I knew that people cared about me. I knew that people loved me. I knew all of these things. Even when I was feeling like it wasn't true, like I was worthless and I was insignificant. I still had that bit of hope, that little voice in my head that was like, what if tomorrow things could be better? What if I just held on for another moment? And what if I didn't have to die this way? What if I could get better? What if I could get beyond this point? And I think that always kept me alive, really. I mentioned in other videos before that I would have like really the smallest reasons to stay alive. Like one time I didn't want to pee my pants while I died, so I didn't kill myself that day. Like little, or like even if it was like somebody, spoke to me, somebody saw that I was struggling and talked to me about it, and then I didn't want to, hurt myself. Any little thing can sort of postpone the plan. I talk about this more later, but having, like a movie I want to go see or a song I want to hear on the radio, and having that and wanting to live to meet that, and then meeting that goal, and then making another one in the future of like, okay, I really want to go see this movie instead, and that comes out like 6 months from now, so I gotta stay alive in order for me to go, see that movie. But I was diagnosed with a depression. Then I later got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. I've struggled with self-harm. I still struggle with self-harm. Nowadays, it's more trichotillomania, which is a hair-pulling disorder, and dermatillomania, which is a skin-picking disorder. And those are largely the things that I struggle with. I also have a YouTube addiction, which is blah. But I think that largely covers all of the ground that I had to cover. I've been hospitalized 12 times in the last 4 years, because I was never diagnosed. I was never hospitalized when I received my first diagnosis, which was the OCD. So it's been 4 years, yeah, and that's quite a bit. I think 2017 was my hardest year. I had about like 5 hospitalizations that year. That was not a good time. 2018 was a lot better for me, and 2019 has been a lot better. But I will get back into that later. Yeah, I had chronic suicidality. The smallest thing would set me off. It would be, I talk about it in NAMI presentations before, about sort of like flipping a coin. Like, if it was going to land on heads, I was going to kill myself, and if it landed on tails. If it landed on tails, I would try to survive another day. The big thing for me when I was struggling was I would reach out in inappropriate people and places. At the time, I was so dysregulated that I didn't realize that it was an inappropriate person or place. For instance, the internet is a big place that I've reached out before to, with varying degrees of success and communication back. Twitter, my blog for a while was a place that I would write posts where I was very suicidal. Twitter became the next place. Even text messages, even article writing when I wrote for my university's newspaper. It kind of just doesn't, it's almost incapable of being contained. I don't, again, when I put something out on the internet, I don't go back to look at it. But I know that I have Twitter threads where I was just like majorly like explicit and like suicidal and everything, and it was not a good place. I also still struggle with glorifying suicide. I do romanticize it, and it's like this glamorous kind of thing to me, and I'm aware of that. And I think when I hear a lot of it too is like suicide contagion, which is especially when people like the media, sensationalizes suicide. So by mentioning the specific method a person who died by suicide used, that can actually cause copycat suicides. So that could be like, someone, for whatever method, and then they're like, oh yeah, I could totally do that too, and then like they use that same method or whatever it might be. I would also actually joke a lot about suicide. I did that especially when I was feeling suicidal. I would make a lot of explicit jokes. I would be very vocal about my ideation, and I would reach out online a lot and do that. So I think the big thing, part of the process, is how comfortable you are with talking about suicide and suicide prevention. It depends on if you're comfortable asking them more questions. If a friend comes up to you, if you notice someone who's kind of writing, even like explicit, like I want to die kind of tweets, or like, I don't, people are better off without me, or, oh, it would be so much better if I weren't alive, or, things to that effect. And even with this person who recently died by suicide this week, the YouTube content creator, they had, you know, done a video, and they took it down initially, but it's there, so yeah, I could relate to a lot of that. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna be right back, but not super right back, but this is a good place to stop anyway, because it's kind of getting into other things. So I'm gonna stop here, and then I'll be talking about all my recovery-based things and a lot of what helped me to get better and all that jazz. So I will see you in a few minutes, a few seconds for you, maybe about like an hour for me. So not bye, because it's not done, but this is already 26 minutes. So yeah, it's gonna be like a 40-minute video. Sorry, have a lot to say, which is this thing that I will mention later as well. Okay, welcome back. So okay, it's been like an hour. So I'm gonna just try to jump back in, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm gonna actually start talking about the recovery aspects of everything now. So this involves like what helped me, what changed my path, how I got better. So yeah, and then I have those pages of notes. So we're gonna see, and this is again probably gonna be like a 40-minute video. I don't know, I might try to edit in Windows Movie Maker, just because I don't want it to be the widescreen version on Pinnacle, so we'll see about that. But because I do want to try to get this video up as soon as I can, so because it's really important. And yeah, so what helped me? Because where I ended for like an hour or so ago when I started filming and everything a couple hours ago, we're going to talk about all about my recovery. So I started a long-term day program, which I've done a couple of day programs before. I did one that was only like a couple of weeks long, like 2-3 weeks maybe. It was good, like it was a really good program and stuff. Then it was largely because my dabbler DBT therapist, what's her name, April, she recommended Passages, which is my day program, but at the time I wasn't within the right insurance, and then I got off like my parents' insurance and such, and then had a different like state insurance, and from there then she recommended that I go to Passages, and that worked out because then I started going there because then they accepted my insurance. So some insurance kind of stuff, you know. Insurance can definitely be a factor when it comes to trying to find the right person that you click with and that you like and that helps you and all this kind of stuff. I did like, though, when I was on my parents' insurance, they did have a case manager that I would like talk to over the phone and stuff every like maybe once a month or something like that. That was helpful. That was pretty cool. I remember actually I spoke to them once when I was on the phone, and I was really upset. And I was using the metaphor that it felt like OCD was in the driver's seat and depression was in the passenger seat, and I was sitting in the back seat. And I remember I was talking to them on the phone, and it was like I was having a lot of symptoms, so I didn't feel like I could drive home safely. And she recommended, well, why don't you open the door and let them, go out, and then you'll see them again tomorrow. And I was like, it was such like a working metaphor that it really helped for me to be like, oh yeah, I could do that. And it really, I don't know, it just was one of those things that really helped me. And I like opened the door, let them out, and then, went back and, drove home and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I had some good experiences with case manager kind of stuff, but I got recommended to go to Passages, and I was there for the first week, because this was last year, so this was back February last year, and I was there for a week at the partial, because there's a day program and a partial at Passages, and the partial is like 10 to 3, essentially, like 10 to 3, and I was going, and I did that for like a week, but I think I took off, like, I think I was in the hospital, and then I think I went I don't know if I like skipped school on like Tuesday, Thursday, or what happened exactly. I don't totally remember. Sorry if you hear some noises outside. But I did that for a week, and then I went over to the day program, which starts, it's like 9. It's like, yeah, 9:15 to 2:45, so 9 to 3, essentially. And I did that Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that helped so much. Like, honestly, so much. Like, it's a very dialectical behavior therapy run program. It's also a longer term day program, so I've actually been there for about a year and like 4 months, I guess, and it's so helpful. DBT is, so to talk a little bit about what DBT is, DBT stands for dialectical behavior therapy. The dialectic is that two opposing ideas exist in the same space. So I want to live and I want to die, that kind of thing. It's opposites in a sense. And it's broken down into mindfulness, which mindfulness is like being able to take a step back to observe thoughts and emotions and realize that as a human being, you're not your emotions and you're not your thoughts, and to have a non-judgmental stance about it and sort of just watch it as the thoughts and emotions come and go as they naturally will. There's a lot of like visual kind of stuff you can do with it, like watching the thoughts pass, like clouds or like birds or whatever you kind of want to do. Then there's interpersonal effectiveness, which is about like how you interact with other people, like relationships, that kind of thing. Emotion regulation, so how do you modulate, how do you track your urges and like behaviors, things like that. And distress tolerance, that's the last one. 4 things. I recommend they have a dialectical behavior therapy workbook, and they also have like the manual, like the teaching manual thing. I can try to link that down below if I can remember. It's going to be a very heavy linked video. But I do have the workbook, and I haven't gotten super far into it. My thing is usually like if I'm not like going to like a program or something that like, I have to do stuff, like I have to do the homework and all that kind of stuff, then I just like won't do it. Unfortunately, that's just how I am. So having like a program that I had to like attend and like had accountability from and for and everything was very much a thing. That was helpful for me. Because if I leave it to myself, I just won't wind up doing it. So DBT massively helped me a lot. I use skills honestly daily. I actually have, I don't know, I think I actually have this a little higher than I did before. Sorry. In my planner, so, okay, so many things, right? May 2018, I started the DBT Intensive program that they offer at Program. Yeah, so DBT Intensive is a 6 to 8 month commitment, which is one cycle, and then you can do another cycle for 6 to 8 months. I passed, like maybe a month or 2 ago, I passed where I started. So I started with the dime game, and that's like how strongly to say no or how strongly to ask for something that you need for interpersonal effectiveness. But I started the intensive stuff in May 2018, and as we always do mindfulness at the start, we go over our homework and then a diary card. And a diary card is what I want to show you right now. And that's essentially where I track my, like, internet addiction stuff, how long I was online, suicidality, OCD, like intrusive thoughts, shopping, medication compliance. This was tailored more towards me as well. And then in the back, it has all the different skills and like what skills did you use throughout each day, and you fill it out each day. and it's like a little tracker kind of thing. The reason I wanted to say why I wanted to take this out was just because I think daily I pretty much use please skills, which are like taking care of yourself, like self-care kind of stuff, self-soothe, and I do some pros and cons here and there. I do a lot of build mastery, opposite action, describe, participate, and things to that effect. And like give and fast. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. You might not know a lot about DBT, but there's a lot of acronyms for it in it and everything. But side notion out of the way. I kind of don't like where this video is going, but I'm gonna stick with it. So, okay. The other thing that was helpful for my recovery and my treatment was medications. Everybody has a different, like, you know, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, like other therapies and such. Medications for me gave me like a leg up, so that I could actually do a lot of the behavioral changes that I needed to make. I've tried different ones. The one that I'm on right now, that I've been on for about a year and a half, that one did have weight gain as a side effect, but I was already thin to begin with, so that wasn't like much of a problem. And like it tapers out too. Like it just like you'll gain I gained to some weight, but then I've maintained that weight, so I haven't like kept gaining kind of thing. Other ones that I've had, like, gave me, like, palpitations, like, irregular heartbeat kind of stuff, or, like, I got, like, lockjaw a little bit before, and I know if I didn't eat enough when I took a med, you know, that would, like, upset my stomach and things like that. But largely, I started medications in 2015, been on them since then, and, you know, different ones. Added some, took some out, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, medications, at least for me, give me the ability to work on all the other things I have to do to maintain my stability. They're not a cure-all, that's for sure. For a while, because I've sort of reached this place of stability in my recovery and in my journey of life, I started to think that it no longer had OCD. Not true. It's still there. I just ignore it a lot better than I used to. So there's still, like, even like with depression, there's still some things I don't tend to be symptomatic. But if I have like vulnerability factors, like I haven't slept enough, I haven't eaten enough, got more stress, transitions, that kind of thing, then I might start having more symptoms. And I just basically manage those symptoms as they come. And there's a presenter that I work with Nami, who talks about how when they wake up in the morning, they sort of start from like 0% and then have to work their way up. But then when they go to sleep and they wake up the next day, they start again at 0 and have to work their way up, like the energy levels. I feel like I'm like that, except with stability. So if I'm having a hard day, I go to sleep, I wake up the next day, I'm back to being stable. So that's like the best way I could really describe it. And I went from, like I mentioned earlier, that really unstable baseline to very stable, which my self-sabotage is unhappy about, but that's self-sabotage, so that's going to be listening to it anyway. Okay, therapy. Therapy is big. Started with the counseling center at my school. I still went to them on like emergency appointments. Many times I got hospitalized. I started seeing an OCD specialized therapist. I went to the OCD Institute for a few weeks. I've had like ERP, which is for treatment for OCD exposure and response prevention. That's sort of like exposing me to triggers that I have, and then not acting on any compulsion. So the anxiety goes up, and then over time it kind of levels out. The more exposure, then the less anxious one gets, enough to the point that it doesn't really bother a person anymore, which is a lot of what how I'm at with the OCD right now too. Like, I flick it off faster than I used to. Sometimes it still gets to me, but usually it's not too bad. I have developed more harm thoughts to other people, like some of my family members or like my dog. Like, I'm always like, oh no, someone's gonna break into the house and like shoot my dog, and my dad's gonna be like dismembered, and like OCD is just like that. It's like really outlandish, really catastrophized, but I just try to not, pay attention too much to it. I have had family therapy, which I'm still in. I see my family therapist is named June, which isn't their real name, and none of the things that I talk about have their real name. But when I get off from seeing April, I'm gonna switch over to June full time. But right now, because I'm doing intensive, I am working with a therapist at my day program. So I'm not seeing, because like you can't like see someone else in case of conflicting information kind of thing, which is why for the family therapist we're paying out of pocket. So there's that. Also ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. I had some of that when I was in a hospital for like 5 weeks, which was the longest I've ever been in the hospital. I was very actively suicidal then, and like self-harming and stuff, and they mentioned ECT. I had a few rounds of it. That worked for a couple months, and then I think I accidentally triggered myself when I was making some of my older videos with the mental health stuff, and then I got depression like way worse than I'd ever had it, and I was like, really, really not good. And then I went into the day program, and then I started using behavioral changes. Because I actually, at that point, I wanted to have more ECT, and they were like, no, medications and behavioral changes, which is something I always, it was interesting because I had always had that perspective before, but at that time I was like, ECT, and they're like, mm-mm. So, which helped, because now I've been really, really stable. So that is all about my journey of professional treatment. I do want to mention a little bit how, because I got help for my diagnoses and conditions early enough on, I think that made a huge difference, because I think that I was told how things could get better for me. They weren't always going to be, so dark and bleak and hopeless. And because I also saw my first NAMI presentation, and NAMI presentation NAMI's really, really great. I think so, at least. I work with them, all that kind of stuff. I saw my first In Our Own Voice presentation, and honestly, I think that really made a difference. I think hearing other people and their stories of recovery and getting better, and, still struggling here and there, but living despite it, was hugely impactful for me. And now I get to do the same kind of thing. And I really feel like to do advocacy work, especially when it's sharing, the darker parts of things, sharing the things society doesn't want to talk about, I think it takes a certain level of self-esteem, in a sense, to know that what I say matters, and that my story matters, that I matter as a person. And it's like, I don't know, it's just really, I forgot where I was going with that, pretty much. But it's just really impactful, and it's really important, and I think that it's good to have that kind of outlet. And I was totally going somewhere with that, I don't remember what it was. But I think it gave me hope. I think it gave me the reality that recovery is possible, and it will get better, and it won't always be this hard, it won't always be this bad, and that there is potential. If where there is life, there is hope, is that quote kind of thing. Like, it sucks right now, and it really does. And I understand that. I get that. You know, I've been there. And, like, I can also say that, like, what your brain is telling you is a bunch of bullshit. And you will find a way to be okay again. And I'm going to go into that. I'm going to do, like, an ending kind of thing at the end of this video. But it's a little bit of a sneak peek, I guess. Yeah, I think having hope and having that voice that I mentioned earlier about what if things got better, what if, you know, all that kind of stuff. I always sort of looked at it as like a fork in the road, and I could either, you know, end my life and die, or I could get better. And like, that choice was important and impactful. And I'm really glad that I didn't choose death, because that would have been really shitty and it would have sucked. And I think the most tragic thing about suicide is that from people that we've heard who've survived suicide attempt survivors, they regretted it the moment that they acted on it. And that's a really shitty way to go out, I think. I think when I've been suicidal, I don't recognize how large of a, you know, action it is, in a sense. Like, I'm so focused on not being in pain anymore that I forget I'm, like, once I'm dead, I'm dead. And that's been something that I've been able to really, you know, weigh out now. Like, I'm not blinded so much by pain and suffering, and I have so much left I want to do, that, which makes the idea of suicide just sort of fade into the background. Like, there's so much left I have to do, and it's like my perspective is so much larger than what it used to be, I guess. I don't know if I said that right, but back to what I was trying to talk about. Coping strategies. So, art, very big, I'm like worried that this is going to be like an hour-long video. But art is really big for me, really huge part of my recovery. I do a lot from an art therapy perspective, so not judging good or bad for artwork, and then just kind of letting out emotions and letting them kind of come and go and all that kind of stuff. Ink on Skin, which I have videos of in the past, and many more that I'm going to make. Music, huge part of my recovery. I actually have written out like 10 songs that I found were helpful at some point in varying points in my recovery. So they are 1-800-273-8255, which is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in the USA number, which is by Logic, Khalid, and Alicia Cara. A Better Place by Jay Putty. It's Gonna Be Alright by Sarah Groves. Try Again by Seeing. Fire in You by Juliet Waybritt. Life Left to Go by Safety Suit. The Sun is Rising by Britt Nicole. Tomorrow Will Be Kinder by the Secret Sisters. Fight Song by Rachel Platten. And The Line by The Deer Hunter. So those are really impactful ones. Like, most of them are like my classic, like, beginning of recovery oriented songs. Like, I remember Googling, like, you know, songs that like combat hopelessness and like depression and like, or whatever. And I found quite a few of those songs from there. And then other ones I just found going on YouTube and stuff. And a couple of them are from like movies, or like hearing them played out in like art therapy groups in the hospital, just all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I mentioned every day I practice DBT skills. Very true. Changed my baseline of stability. advocacy keeps me accountable and gives me purpose. Meaning making, in a sense. Actively in treatment. So, a little bit more about my treatment, because I mentioned that I was actively in treatment, and for me, actively in treatment was like going to therapy and like taking my meds, and 10 out of the 12 times I've been hospitalized, I sought help directly. I guess because I was told that recovery is possible, that there is hope, that better days are ahead, that it will get better, those kinds of things. I think because I was told that so early on, that I believed in it, and when I didn't believe in it, I listened to music that helped me to believe in it. Especially the It's Gonna Be Alright by Sarah Groves. It has a lyric in it that says, I believe that you're gonna be alright, I believe that I'm gonna be alright, I believe that we're gonna be alright. And like, just listening to that so many times, like, it really, sunk in for me, and I really thought that, I could be someone, and I could enjoy life and do things I wanted to do that I forgot that I wanted to do, in a sense. And I sought help by, like, being really honest. I often didn't want to pretend like I was okay. I wasn't into that. I was very honest. Somebody asked me how I'm doing, I was like, hey, I'm doing really shitty, like, hey, I need help, or, whatever it might be. And a lot of the time I went for crisis appointments at school. I got hospitalized. I'd have plans, but a lot of the time I hadn't acted on them yet, or I had acted on them after I was got out of the hospital, kind of thing. I think knowing that vulnerability is a strength, and that asking for help is a sign of immense strength, and that talking to someone is really helpful. And I think there was like a quote from like an Avengers fanfiction that I read that was like saying something along the lines of, keeping things to yourself isn't courageous, it just causes things to fester, and that reaching out for help from friends but not your enemies is a sign of strength, something like that. That was something I tweeted about and was a pinned tweet for me for a while. But like, things like that are really important, like just knowing that it won't always be so bad. And a lot of the time they say not to say, like, oh, you have so much to live for, because it's kind of invalidating. But I guess just saying, like, just being there for someone, having them, don't give advice unless they ask for it, and just kind of listen, and actively listen and repeat it back, and point to resources and all that kind of stuff. Like, I wish I had more that I could say about getting help exactly. I mean, when I was first hospitalized, I was scared about, maybe because it was OCD, or maybe because, I don't know, maybe it was just me. I'm very much, if I don't understand something, I'll research it, I'll look it up, I'll learn about it. So I remember I had learned about what psych hospitals were like from the internet. And when I was first hospitalized, I was very scared, because I thought, what does that mean? Like, I was afraid they would keep me forever, kind of thing, which they probably wouldn't. It depends, depends on how severe the illness is, and how, mainly the severity. But I was really scared, and the first time I went, for some reason, we're always watching SVU on, like, Law & Order SVU on TV and stuff, in the hospital and everything. But people were really nice. Like, I've had pretty good experiences in the hospital. I mean, some of them, certain places aren't the best. That's for sure. I think the people who work there, and then the people that are also there as clients, matters a lot about how the stay will go. But the least that I stayed before was like 3 days. The most was 5 weeks. Like, usually it's about a week. I tend to go by the notion that, like, if I don't agree with something in my treatment, like, I'm not going to be there forever, so I can just, you know, change it back, whatever, when I get out, that kind of thing. It's really not super scary. It can be intense. It definitely can be intense. It can be very anxiety-provoking, especially depending on where you're at. Yeah. I don't know, I guess asking for help, I largely viewed it as like, if I go down this path, it'll get me to where I'm going. Or, you know, maybe I'll get around there, and maybe I'll find obstacles, or I'll overcome them, or whatever, if I do it alone myself. If I take a detour and I ask for help, I can get to the same place, but the journey will be different in a sense. So, like, I don't know, I always thought of it like, I always thought of it kind of like it'll take me to the same place if I go on a detour. So if I ask for help, if I don't ask for help, I'll still get there. But if I ask for help, then I'll get there probably in a better state of mind than if I try to do it alone. And I think that's the big thing when it comes to mental health. Like, yeah, I could probably do it myself all alone, but why would I, in a sense? Like, it's okay to get help, and it's okay to need help, and it's okay, you know, just like with, if you're having a heart attack and you have to go to the ER, you'd go for the ER for that. If you're suicidal and you have to, you know, you need help for it, you go to the ER, and that kind of stuff. So I guess just kind of normalizing it is helpful. I hope that makes sense. I don't know if it does, but I'm trying. I guess I almost wish I had a harder time accepting help, in a sense, because I think acceptance along those lines, I think that's a huge thing too. I think, you know, unless someone is like imminent danger to themselves at that moment, to themselves or other people, I think there is a path of acceptance that has to be done. The acceptance that I cannot control other people's actions. I can, you know, advise my friends to tell someone. I can, if I fear that they're like going to hurt themselves right away, or like, you know, just in general, I can encourage them to get help. I can say, if I'm really concerned, like, I'm gonna tell someone because I'm really, really concerned for you. I can do those things, but at the end of the day, they are them and I am me, and I can't be there like 24/7, and I can't fix them, and I can't save them, and all those kinds of things. I can just try to be there for them and listen and help however I can. And I have to accept the fact that what they decide to do is their decision. And there's a really good quote that I always sort of go by. It goes, do everything you can and recognize that you can't do everything. And I think that's a really big, because there's a lot of, like, suicide is such a difficult subject to talk about, and it's so heavy. It's so heavy. So self-care and taking care of yourself and all those stuff, you know, even if you having a friend or a family member who's going through suicidality, call for yourself the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. You just get tips on how to maintain your own wellness and maintain your own self-care and taking care of yourself, because it's a lot of shit to be dealing with. And, you know, we need more people to be looking out for themselves, and it's not selfish in any manner. It's keeping yourself okay and alive and good, and knowing that when struggles happen, they do have, like, you know, struggle isn't infinite. It has a deadline, in a sense, like a time stamp, in a sense, to it. I think accepting the fact that we're not going to be able to save everybody is a very difficult one to think about, and it's pretty true. Like, you know, it doesn't mean that we don't try. We always continue to try. because we don't know who could be the next, inspirational person in a sense. We don't know that. And so it's worth it. It's worth asking people directly, are you suicidal? Are you thinking of hurting yourself? Are you having plans to hurt yourself? Those kinds of things. And I think something that always helped me was considering, that some people survive mental health conditions and suicidality and some people don't. And giving myself that awareness that I could choose who I wanted to be was very impactful, because ultimately it is that person's decision. Again, that doesn't mean you don't get them help, get them hospitalized, whatever, do everything you can, right, and everything. But I guess it's that at the end of the day, you can only keep someone so safe with, they might still act on it and they still might die. And there's not really much you can do about that. And even though you can't control their actions, you can control your own, and you can control how you react to things, and you keep moving forward, because unfortunately that's what happens, is that a person dies. And I think with suicide it's a little more complicated, but in general we go on, we move forward, and life is always going to do that. It's always going to have death, it's always going to have birth, and there will be things people will miss, people we will love, people will hate, people that will remember, and people that will be with us for a while, and some other people won't. And it's really hard. It's a really heavy topic, and it's really so important to take care of yourself. So, learning your own coping strategies, learning where can I reach out for help, what can I do, all that kind of stuff is really, really important. That got really heavy. One of the biggest things, to get off that topic a little bit, I wonder if I should put this as 2 different videos. I don't know. But one of the big things for me is that I always want. I'm a large Marvel Cinematic Universe fan. I definitely stayed alive watching, because I wanted to watch Thor Ragnarok. I wanted to watch Avengers Infinity War. I wanted to watch Avengers Endgame. And although I swear to God, after I left that movie theater Endgame, I was like, I have no reason to live anymore. It was terrible. Just very emotional. It emotionally wrecked me for a few days. But I'm gonna go see it again. But yeah, I mean, having things to look forward to always really helped me. So the big thing was if I couldn't, stay alive for another week or another month, I would just break it down to smaller tasks. So 5 minutes, I'll just get through the next 5 minutes, get through the next 30 seconds, that kind of thing. That always really helped me. Having things I wanted to do, wanting to hear new music that comes out, wanting to experience, new video games or new videos, or, finish a fanfiction story, or finish, write my own novel, write things. And I think the thing for me is that I always have so much I want to say, which is pretty evident by the amount of time that I've been talking for. I have a lot to say, and I have a lot to do. And that is one of the big reasons, how I keep myself alive, in a sense. The other thing that has helped me were safety contracts. So for DBT Intensive, I actually had to fill out, a safety contract kind of thing, which some people it works for, some people it doesn't. But it's a saying that I won't hurt myself during the time that I'm in intensive, and I won't do X, Y, and Z. And those for me have always been really important. I'll think back. I've had times in the last year, definitely the last year, in the last 6 months, where I was oh man, I'm having a thought of hurting myself, but I signed that safety contract 4 months ago, and I can't knowingly hurt myself when I could have gotten help. Like, that tends to be a big thing for me. So that always really helped me. I kept having, like, okay, well, I can't kill myself now because I have to wait, like, 6 months before I'm out of intensive or whatever. And having to wait 6 months means that by the time I get to 6 months, I'll have changed my mind. I'll have been like, oh, no, I want to live now. So that kind of thing really helped for me, like, just having reasons why I couldn't act on it. Like, I guess technically I could. I could go and hurt myself and that kind of thing. Yes, that's very true. It's within my capability of doing that. However, I have so much more to lose now that it's honestly not worth it. I think I mentioned that when I was my friend Luna, and how their friendship, like the emotions because I had an unhealthy relationship with them, the emotions that would come up weren't worth it. No person and no thing is worth losing my life over. That was a really important aspect of my recent recovery. Because it's true. Because is it really worth killing myself if I drop a piece of toast? You know, it's not. And again, it would be that regretful thing. Like, every time I've ever attempted, I always regret it. And it doesn't stop the thoughts either. Like, it comes back. The thoughts come back. I just have to change how I react to them and how I, get through them. I was going somewhere with that. Safety contracts, yes. So safety contracts were always really big for me. I always had, like, sometimes I would think in a week if I was really struggling, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to kill myself on Wednesday. But then I'd be like, oh shit, I have a therapy appointment Thursday, and I can't like not show up for my therapy appointment. So I guess I'll have to live until next, like, Monday or whatever it was. That always really helped me for some reason, and having that accountability kind of person was helpful. And kind of pushing off, sort of deadlines, helped me as well. Also, along with safety contracts, there's a thing called safety plans, which are essentially writing out coping strategies, like healthy coping strategies, resources in the community or nationwide, people, like friends I can reach out to, and then, like, trigger warning or, like, warning signs that I have, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, not eating enough, eating too much. Those are, like, safety plans. I have come to the conclusion that I need to update my safety plan every 2 to 3 months. So that is something that I have recently worked on. So although I still have intrusive thoughts, I still have a lot of the conditions that I live with, I've been able to really strengthen my resiliency to them. I still have vulnerability factors, like, sleep kind of stuff, or, getting sick or whatever, and things like that. I would say I struggle more these days with trichotillomania, which is the hair pulling, and dermatillomania, which is the skin picking. I don't know how, maybe you can tell, I don't know, but my most part of this eyebrow is gone, and, like, all of that is gone. I just penciled it in, but yeah. I have been almost a year and 5 months outside of the hospital, which is my longest time. Before that was 9 months out of the hospital. So I'm doing really, really well. And the big thing too, again, is that concept that I have so much more to lose. Like, I had some friends who got hospitalized this past week, and hearing about their unhealthy behavior made me want to act on unhealthy behavior. But then I keep thinking about how much I have to lose. And that was a big thing for me. I really sort of, like, planted myself like a tree. I really dug in my roots really deeply. And that served as a way, a deterrent for acting on my suicidality kind of stuff. So, for instance, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people that I interact with. Like, even, you can break it down so small. You can break it down to, like, oh, that, like, you know, busboy at the hotel or something who smiled at you or who gave you a compliment. Or, you know, all the people that I know, all the people I have yet to meet, all of the things I have yet to do, all these things. For me, planting my roots meant that I would have more to lose if I acted again on an old thought. Like, the urge would be there, but if I acted on it, I know that I would lose a lot of stuff. Like, even now, I have a job now, and I have, you know, I finished school, and all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I could act on it, but what am I going to gain from it? Nothing. And the big thing, too, is I have a thing with, like, near-death experiences that goes into the glorified suicide thing. But my family therapist was even asking me, like, what's the prize if I have a near-death experience? Like, what do I get from that? Nothing, honestly. So, no, I shouldn't act on it because I'm going to feel shitty. I'm going to feel terrible. And it's going to, you know, jeopardize a lot of things that I've built for myself in the last year. And is it worth it? No. So, yeah, so actually we're almost done. It's been like 50 minutes, so thank God, we're almost done. So, okay, this is actually the part where because I already talked a little bit about this before, but I'm going to just end off right here, pretty much. So I'm going to edit this video a little bit. Just take out a couple things here and there. I'm probably going to try to do it in Windows Movie Maker instead of Pinnacle, just because I want it to be better quality. So I want to end with a message of hope and also resources again. So this whole video, very long video, was essentially for me to say, hey, I'm doing a lot better now. Life is really great. Is it always nice? No. Is it always bad? No. And, you know, I want to kind of just, you know, recovery is possible. Hold on, pain ends. It really, suicide, even self-harm, it's really not worth it. It's a permanent action to a temporary crisis, and the crisis will pass. And it won't last forever. You can be okay again. Your life matters. Your voice matters. Vulnerability is a strength. Asking for help is a-okay. Because asking for help means that you can get better supports, and if people walk out on your life because of your struggles, they weren't really there for you to begin with. There are people that you can reach out to. There are resources. I will list them again and also in the description. And, you know, if you want to reach out to me, again, I'm not an expert. I'm an expert in my own experiences, but I'm not a professional. You can, you know, if you want to just vent to somebody, if you want someone to ask questions, you know, I can kind of point you in the right direction. My public email is recoverytowellness@hotmail.com. You can feel free to email me there. You can go onto my blog. You can read other stuff. You know, feel free. Just know that it really does get better, and you won't always feel this way. And even with me, like, some days I still feel kind of bad, but more of the time I don't. And now that I've been able to really work on my recovery and get better, I've really learned how I really like attention. I like positive attention now. I like healthy attention. And I definitely get that more now than I used to. And I've really been able to reform my identity, really become who I want to be. And I'm so grateful that I'm still alive. That, I mean, I never had really severe suicide attempts, but I'm still really glad that I'm here and that I have this ability to talk to other people and, you know, relate to other people. And I really think that having lived experience with mental health conditions gives me a lot of opportunities, which I think a lot of the time as people we tend to think about what we've lost. And I've lost things too. And at the same time, I really do feel that I've gained so much more experience by having gone through what I had to go through, which, again, none of it was fun, none of it was easy. I don't want to go back to it, because it was really shitty. But, yeah, I think I'm able to do NAMI stuff, I'm able to do peer-to-peer stuff, I'm able to eventually become a certified peer specialist, which is something I want to do, and, like, maybe make a TED Talk, and, like, write a book, and, like, all of these things that I wouldn't necessarily have if I didn't go through the struggles that I've been through. And will I struggle again? Possibly. Yeah, I'll have a setback, I'll, pull my eyebrow out, or however it goes. I might get hospitalized again in the future, and I'm aware of that, and I accept that. And I accept the fact that it's not a back to ground zero, it's more of just a tune-up, a restart, a refresh button, in a sense. So, that is all I have to say, because I went over a lot. So I'm really sorry this is, like, so long, but it is. We just have to accept it. Radical acceptance. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have, you want to tell a little bit about how you're feeling after this video, or what tips that you've had that worked for you, anything from the first person I statements, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'm going to really try to popularize this video. I don't know how well that's going to go, but I'm going to try. And I will have the links for everything. Oh, that's right. I want to do the resources again real quick. So, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline for the U.S. is 1-800-273-8255. Crisis text line, you can text HOME or START to 741-741. NAMI, NAMI.org, I believe it is the National Alliance on Mental Illness for the USA. They have a Compass hotline open for like 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. It's more of like a resources, like where to get treatment, hospital, like things like that, like informational stuff. It's not like a hotline. Driven Industries, the I is in Driven is a 1. Sick Note Week on Twitter, metanoia.org, Psych Central, International OCD Foundation, helpguide.org, beyondblue.org, which is an Australian-based website, and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So, that is the end of this video. You have actually survived this video, which is amazing. And I have too, which is also amazing. So I'm going to end it here. I might film, maybe not today, but I do want to try to film something else sometime soon. But I have a few other videos I have a lot of videos I can edit, but I'm going to edit something. And we're going to see how this goes. And I hope that you had some interest in this and that it was helpful in some way. Hopefully it was. Yeah, I'll probably have more art videos up soon. So, I'm gonna go. My log out thing. Stay safe, take care, be well, much love and light to you. And I will see you in the next video, which I will try to get up. If I get this one up by the end of the week, I will probably try to get another one up by the end of the weekend. So the last weekend of June 2019. So, okay. Bye.